Similarly, like China, every 6 years Mexico holds election to elect its president. Until 2000, every election was won by the party called the PRI or the Institutional Revolutionary Party. This was not because the PRI was the most popular party. The PRI won by using a number of dirty tricks. For example, all government employees, the teachers, and the parents of the student in government school were forced to attend PRI meeting and vote for them. The media was also with the PRI. The PRI even shifted polling booth and used large amount of money for its candidates. So in a fact, though Mexico was never under a military or a dictator rule, the Mexico didn't have a proper choice in selecting their representatives. In both these cases, we have examined that how people were forced to elect their rulers. So if we talk about China, the people were not having any further choice. In Mexico, the parties were creating problem. The foundation of the democracy is free and fair election, in which the ruling party also faces a fair chance of losing. That was the second feature of the democracy. Now let's move on to the third and the most important keyword, people. Even today, there are many places where equal right to vote is denied. We look at some examples here. In the first example, it's all about Saudi Arabia, where women are not allowed to vote. Second example is Estonia, where the citizenship rules make it difficult for people belonging to the Russian minority to gain the right to vote. Finally, let's look at Fiji. In Fiji, the electoral system is such that the vote of an local Fijian has more value than that of an Indian Fijian. These three countries cannot be qualified as democracies because political equality for citizens is lacking. Thus, in a democracy, all adults who are citizens of a country should be allowed to vote. Each vote have one equal value. That is, one person, one vote and one value. What happens if the popular government turns out to be undemocratic? Now let's talk about the fourth feature, that is government. It is possible for the powerful or popular leader to be autocratic as well, as being seen in the number of case studies. Zimbabwe was under white minority rule till it attained independence in 1980. Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front, that is ZANU-PF, the party that led the freedom struggle, has ruled Zimbabwe since then. The leader of the Patriotic Front is Robert Mugabe. He changed the constitution, banned protests, controlled the activities of opposition party and media, and also influenced the judiciary. Thus, elections were held regularly. They were always won by the Patriotic Front. Clearly, popular approval of the rulers is necessary in a democracy, but it is not enough to categorize a country as a democracy. In a democracy, before the elections, adequate laws are needed to be given for normal political activity. The citizens should be free to think and form opinions. To be able to express these opinions in public form groups and take other political actions. Additionally, all rights should be applied to everyone equally. Finally, there should be an independent judiciary to protect the rights of the citizens without any political pressure. Now let's consider the conditions that apply to the way a government is run after an election. Winning an election does not allow a democratic government to do whatever it likes. The government in power need to respect and honor the guarantees to the minorities. Additionally, major decisions cannot be taken without going through a number of consultations at every step. All officers barrier are assigned certain rights and responsibility by the constitution as well as the law. They are accountable to fulfill their responsibility to the public as well as to the other independent officials. Thus, we can say that a democratic government rules within the limits set by the constitutional law and the citizens' right. That is the fourth and the final feature of a democracy. We all need to weigh the pros, that is advantage, and the cons, that is disadvantage of democracy. Let's start with the review of the main argument typically presented against democracy. Democracy can lead to instability as the leaders keep on changing in a democratic government. Quick actions is not possible in decision making in democracy because many people need to be consulted before making any kind of decision. Politicians are not too concerned about morality in a democracy because this form of government is all about political competition and power play. In fact, electoral competition provides a lot of scope for corruptions. Elected leaders may not necessarily be qualified to understand the best interest of the people. This can lead to a bad decision. Finally, it can be said that ordinary people are not qualified to select a good leader and so should not be given that power. Many of these arguments are indeed valid. However, some of the points mentioned could apply to any form of government where power is misused. The above arguments against democracy may showcase it is not the ideal form of government. But the debate here is whether democracy is better than the other form of government that we are aware of. To resolve this problem, let's look at the other side of the coin. The arguments for democracy. China recorded the worst famine from 1958 to 1961 in the history of the world with the death of more than 3 crore, whereas India, in spite of worse economic condition, did not have such an acute famine. Economists think it was because the government policies in India were different. India, being a democracy, had multi-party elections. An opposition party is looking over the government's shoulder and a press free to criticize the government. Therefore, the Indian government responded to the food scarcity in a manner very different from that of the Chinese government. In a non-democracy, the rulers may or may not respond to the needs and the wishes of the people. Thus, we arrived at our first argument in favor of democracy. A democratic government is more accountable to its people. As mentioned earlier, democratic decisions involve a series of consultations, meetings, and discussions among many persons. Granted that such a decision making process is time consuming. This helps a democracy guard against rash or irresponsible decisions. That's our second argument in favor of democracy. That a democratic government can ensure better decisions. During our earlier discussions on democracy, you learned that all individuals may have different ideas, ideals, and values. Thus, this is especially true in a country of vast social diversity such as India. However, in a democracy, no one are regarded as a winner or a loser permanently. Therefore, democracy enables people to deal with differences and conflicts in a peaceful manner. This was some of the arguments about the effects of democracy on the quality of government and social life. However, the more important aspect of democracy is the effect of democracy on citizens in enforcing political equality. Democracy enhances the respect of the citizens. It accounts to same status to all people regardless of their wealth or education. Rather than be a slave to a ruler, the citizens rule themselves through elected representatives. When they make mistakes, they assume responsibility for their own mistakes as well. Thus, democracy is better than other forms of government because it allows us to correct our mistakes, that is, our own mistakes. No form of government can guarantee perfection. However, democracy as a form of government allows for relatively more transparency, public discussions, and correction of the mistakes. Our is representative democracy. People rule through their elected representatives. The limited understanding of representative democracy is firstly, it is not physically possible for all of them to sit together and make collective decisions. Secondly, all citizens may not have the time, skill, or interest to take part in the decision making process. It also limits us to democracy in a government. For an understanding of the operations of a democracy beyond government functions, we need to look at the broader meaning of democracy. For example, in families and schools can be democratic as well. In a democratic family, the opinion of each family member is given equal importance in making the decision. Similarly, there is a better scope for democracy in school as well. Teachers who encourage students to be curious learners. A decision is democratic if it is made after consultation of everyone likely to be affected by it. For example, relatively small communities like a Gram Sabha, all the members can sit together and make decisions directly. The feature of democracy that we discussed earlier provided a basic foundation for our understanding of democracy and also what an ideal democracy should be. Thus, broadly speaking, democracy involves public participation, consultation, and representation. So, here we finished with this chapter. Thank you.